It happened. Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets. We'll have instant reactions from Matt and Haize on who won the deal and whether or not this makes the Houston Rockets a finals contender next season. It's all coming up today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free, available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. No time for pleasantries today. We've got breaking news out of the NBA. The Phoenix Suns are trading forward Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. The Suns will receive Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the 10th pick in Wednesday's draft, and 5 second-round picks. Matt, your first reaction to this news.
Oh my God, the Suns got killed. Look, I get it. He's 37. It's an expiring contract. He had an Achilles injury. He's not exactly a guy that makes his teammates better. His teams don't seem to perform at the level that we expect. It's Kevin Durant, who still last season was a bucket from anywhere on the floor. And Houston wanted him. And Houston had all your picks. And you didn't get any of them back. You got Jalen Green, the worst contract on the Rockets that they only gave because they felt like they had to, because it gave them the opportunity to do a deal like this. You didn't get Albert Şengün. You didn't get Jabari Smith Jr. You didn't get Amin Thompson. You didn't get Cam Whitmore. You didn't get Reed Shepherd. You got the 10th pick, probably to take a center in a draft where center, there's a run on them. I'm expecting a lot of them to be gone by the time you get to the 10th pick. And 5 second rounders. Golf clap for you. Oh my God, Haize. The Suns got annihilated.
The Rockets got exactly what they want. I don't know if I feel like they got annihilated in the way that you do. I definitely think they didn't get as much back as what they were thinking they were going to get. And like I said then, once the Miami Heat were included in this whole thing, you weren't going to get a crazy deal back for Kevin Durant. But I think what they do at number 10 is going to be important. Is number 10 to end up being Kamal Malawak? Does it end up being a Derek Queen who could fall? Does it end up being one of those guys? If it is, I feel a little bit better about this long term for the Suns. But I mean, this is about what I expected once the Miami Heat got involved in it. There was no way that you were going to get some crazy haul back for Kevin Durant, and the Miami Heat were one of his preferred teams. I just don't think that it was going to happen.
Yeah, the Suns reportedly did want a center in some of the packages that were being discussed with other teams. So as Haize alludes there, we might see a center taken with that 10th pick in the NBA draft. Matt, do you think that the Phoenix Suns got less than they wanted, perhaps because the timeline was so constricted? It seemed like they really wanted to get a deal done that netted them a pick that they could use in this upcoming draft. Do you think that hurt their ability to maximize the return on Kevin Durant?
Yes, because I think what happened was they set an arbitrary deadline, right? They set this deadline of like, we want to get this done before the draft. We've got to do this deal before the draft. We want to start clean. We want to use a pick in the draft. We want to get in on this draft. So you're going to have to get your deal, your offers into us by the draft. Okay. But if you do that, and then Kevin Durant waits, and then about 10 days before says, yeah, I don't want to play in Minnesota. Not interested in that. Nope, not interested in that. The Knicks back out. Minnesota all of a sudden is like, well, I can't offer you anymore because we don't think he doesn't even want to be here. And you're down to, like Haize said, Miami or Houston. You're screwed. Like, you're absolutely screwed. I do not know. There is no construct of a Clippers deal that would have been worse to me than this. I understand the value of the 10th pick. There's very good players, I think, available from a prospect standpoint. I just don't necessarily think that it was worth what you had to take on. Haize, do you realize they're still in the second apron? They're still in the second apron.
In the separate apron. And then reportedly as well, like, they plan on keeping Jalen Green and having a backcourt of Devin Booker and Jalen Green.
Like, half their roster is 2 guards for a team with Devin Booker. What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you see what I'm saying about this being bad, Haize?
Yeah.
I don't think you've made your point quite directly enough.
I'm just baffled. I'm baffled that you do. If they had just thrown in one of their future firsts, just like, all right, give us give me like, let me walk away with some pride that I get one of my picks back, so I can at least trade it again. The inability to do that is crazy to me.
What's with the 5 second-round picks? That seems like a way to say you came away with 6 picks without really having.
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to clear that up. Just want to make sure I had a good read on that. Haize, Matt mentions the Los Angeles Clippers. Like, where were they in this whole situation? Of course, there were talks with the San Antonio Spurs. The Knicks backed out. And the Miami Heat as well don't get a deal done. Which fan base of which team should be most disappointed today that they could not acquire Kevin Durant, when particularly when you look at the package that Phoenix ultimately accepted from Houston?
I'd say probably the Spurs, because I still think the Spurs have young players that fit better if they were willing to come off, even if they're just willing to come off one of those. But, you know, I had heard that the Spurs weren't willing to give up the number 2 pick. So, I mean, if you combine that with the pick, maybe not. But I say probably the Spurs. Minnesota, but we know that he didn't want to go there, because I think that the team that he would have helped the best is probably Minnesota. I think him pairing with Anthony Edwards would have been great to see. So I'd pick between those 2 teams.
I feel like the Knicks missed a huge opportunity here. I still think they should have come back to the table last second with a Towns trade. I still feel like, and like, I get it. You look at what KD went for. It's like, why would you give up Towns when this is what he went for? I understand it, but like, you're the Knicks and you're trying to find that last piece to get over the championship hump. You have a championship team in place. Like, that to me is a perfect situation for him to walk into, because as good as I think Houston's going to be now, and they are going to be good and they are going to be better, and this roster makes more sense to me now. They're still, like, they play in a brutal Western Conference. They still are going to have, I think, trouble offensively. This is still a young guys around a 37-year-old. And that balance, I think, is going to be tough. They are going to be, I think they could be great. I think they could be awesome. I think they could be contenders. By the way, Haize has been calling this, that this was going to be Houston. It was the best fit and all these types of things for a week. Haize was on point from the beginning with this. But I still am kind of like, I feel like the Knicks missed an opportunity here and left one on the table.
Let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Hit us up in the comments who missed the opportunity the most. I want to hit on something that Matt Moore was talking about there with the Houston Rockets getting better, but still facing a brutal Western Conference. Just how much better did they get with the acquisition of Kevin Durant? What is the fit? What do they lose in Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks? We'll have much more on the other side here, Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda, folks. It's made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but they want something that supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every single can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas, they are loaded to the gills with sugar, 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips that script completely with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, gut-friendly ingredients like OliSmart, which is a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing. It absolutely does, but actually does something good for your body. You get the best of both worlds. I can have a soda at lunch. Instead of feeling guilty, I feel great about getting a third of my daily fiber. Get a free can of Olipop today. Just buy any 2 cans in-store and they will reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. More on the Kevin Durant trade coming up. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The Rockets finished last season 52-30. They were the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, but they got bounced by the Golden State Warriors in the first round. Matt, how much better does Kevin Durant make the Rockets, taking into consideration what they lost in this deal as well?
You're going to hear from Jackson Haize a lot over the summer. They were the 2 seed without Kevin Durant. And you should just remember that when Jackson is free to record in between study hall and sex period, that he's going to get a little bit too excited.
That's unfair. That's unfair.
And so they're going to be better. They will be better. The big key here is that the Rockets' overall resume didn't match that win performance. They had a bunch of wins over the elite teams that you knew was like, man, this is not going to hold in the playoffs. And sure enough, they lose to a non-elite team in the Golden State Warriors. How many teams can I diss in here? So to me, they're going to be better, but I don't look at this as like they should be the favorites to win the West or the second favorites behind OKC, obviously, or anything like that. I think they're in that pack with a bunch of other teams once we get through the rest of the offseason. But I do love the fit here. There's been some questions about what does this look like because now they have some holes. I don't think so. They can either keep Fred VanVleet or use a team option to trade him and get another guard. Amen Thompson. Jabari can play 3. I love Jabari Smith 3, KD 4. I love that combo. That's shooting, defense, versatility, and basketball IQ. Then Şengün at 5 as a playmaker that makes everybody better. This makes Şengün, I think, really benefits here. You can play Tari Eason if you want in certain spots, if one of them is out with injury. And you can go too big and move KD to the 3 if you really need to, if you want to play Adams. They have positional versatility because KD's able to play so many different positions and do so many things here, Haize. It's an awesome trade for them in terms of what he brings, but they do need the other guys to do the stuff that's been missing on these Durant teams. They need floor raisers. They need the elite defense still. They need all that stuff combined and some development from guys like Amen Thompson.
Yeah, but I think they have some of that of what the other KD teams have been missing. They already have the defensive system. They have the defense. I think that this makes Amen Thompson even more dangerous, and it basically gives them waiting to hear on what the extension is going to look like for Kevin Durant, but it gives him whatever that amount of time to turn into that player that can lead that team after that while they're still winning, I think is a big part here. Keeping Jabari, still having Tari Eason there. You re-sign Steven Adams, so you still got some toughness up front. I think that this makes this team a really, really good team. They needed somebody. When you look at that Golden State Warriors team, they were missing someone who could not score outside just the flow of the offense. Somebody who, if the offense needs to break down, they can still get a bucket. KD can still do that. So what? 26 points per game last year. He's not washed by any stretch of the imagination. I think that with the defense they have and the balance they still have overall in that team, where they still have enough to probably keep Fred VanVleet now as well, that I think you can even see Kevin Durant lock back in defensively and be what he was defensively at sometimes before, close to it. He's still an older man now. But I'm not ready to say they're going to be the best team in the Western Conference. I'm not ready to say that they'll even necessarily go to a Western Conference Finals just because things can go crazy in the West. But I do think here ahead of the draft and ahead of free agency, they're definitely going to be a top 3-4 team in the Western Conference for sure.
I think it's.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Haize,
I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting that. Sorry, I just think it's interesting here from Hayes' perspective on KD still being so good and still being like this kind of thing. And again, like his ability, a lot of this reason I think this works is Udoka. KD wanted Udoka on the Nets, if you remember, before they passed on him, and so like this connection, KD. I don't think KD's a coach killer, but boy, are there a lot of dead coaches in KD's wake. And so I think it's really great to have a coach that you feel like he's going to connect with, identify with, and trust immediately. I think that's an important part of this too.
Yeah, so they just recently extended Ime Udoka long-term just a couple of days ago before they make this deal. So obviously you would hope that they felt confident that relationship was going to work, Haize. But you do lose a guy in Dillon Brooks that I thought was one of the players that most fully embodied the crazy defensive, physical, craziness that was the Houston Rockets and the chaos that they caused last season. You're replacing that again with the overwhelming talent that you talked about there, Haize. But is there some danger that you've messed a little bit with the chemistry that got you the second seed in the Western Conference?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you make a trade this big, there's always a chance that you mess up the chemistry a little bit. I think, though, that you still have kept enough of that team around that's going to be there. Kevin Durant, one thing that I'll say one of the biggest knocks on, Kevin Durant isn't a leader. I'll say that if people want to disagree with me in the comments, they can disagree with me. But if you keep Fred VanVleet, you still have Steven Adams there. You still have Ime Udoka there, who was an assistant on that 2020-21 Brooklyn Nets team, by the way. So he already has a relationship with Kevin Durant, theoretically. I think that the chemistry part of it can be built up over the course of the season. The defensive identity part that Dillon Brooks brought, I am worried a little bit about that. I think you still have a men. Tari Eason may be ready to step up some for you as well. Jabari Smith. Also, you hope that those guys are going to be able to step up and still give you a lot of that. But it's a risk that I'd be willing to take. You added a player who was top 10 in scoring. I don't care that he's 36. He was still top 10 in the league in scoring to a team that needed scoring. And I think that you take the risk there since it presented itself.
On elite efficiency too. And one of the things I think is really interesting about this too, because you don't have like this complex, beautiful offense, KD's not messing anything up, right? Like he always stuck out like a sore thumb, even with Golden State, because he couldn't necessarily, like he didn't play that type. He is give the ball to him, dude gets a bucket. That's what the Rockets need. They can play a style that isn't necessarily beautiful basketball and still have an efficient offense that with an elite defense. He doesn't compromise you on the defensive end unlike a lot of stars. He doesn't compromise you in terms of the efficiency like a lot of high scorers. He is hyper efficient, one of the most efficient scorers in NBA history, still at his prime. Go look at his numbers last year. He was incredible in his efficiency. Like this is a natural. One of the best things about KD is that he is plug and play. He doesn't rise everybody up. It's not like his play style makes everybody better. But what he does is like you can throw him anywhere and it is 25, 6, 4 automatic. And even as he gets older, I think it's going to hold up because he's such a hoop obsessive. It's just a great fit for Houston.
Matt, it seemed like the Rockets were hesitant to do a Kevin Durant deal in the middle of last season. They reportedly wanted to take a look at what that young core could do in the playoffs. They obviously got bounced in the first round. What do you think they saw? What did you see in that playoff performance that says, okay, yes, now was the time to make this Kevin Durant move?
I mean, the complete inability for them to score down the stretch of these games in these clutch time environments, it was just a nightmare. Their offense would not just die. I mean, it would die horribly. And now you've got a guy who, one of the biggest problems with him is that he has he's always had an issue with like them running late game offense because he just wants to get the ball and go score. But that's perfect for them. That's exactly what Houston needs. You also got the opportunity to see Jalen Green have one good game in a playoff environment and then be terrible the rest of the way. And then you got to use him as the centerpiece for the guy you needed and who wanted to play with you. Oh my God, Brian Gregory. Oh my God.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
Haize, final thing here on the Houston Rockets. Well, really just the Kevin Durant. How do you think he feels today? Because he gets to go to one of his preferred teams, probably in one of the better situations in terms of what that team had to give up, had to lose. They can still remain competitive. But at the same time, people are going to ridicule the what it took to move Kevin Durant to a team. How do you think Kevin Durant's feeling today?
I hope that he's feeling great. I mean, think about it this way. Desmond Bane got more first-round picks collectively than Luka Doncic and Kevin Durant did in trades, by the way. That's just something to sit on for a second. But I think Kevin Durant should feel he's going to a really good situation with young players, a defense, and a coach that all support what he needs to do. And if Kevin Durant wanted to have chances at titles here in the twilight of his career, I think he's in a great situation to try to do so.
Matt?
I'm happy for Kevin Durant, who loves playing basketball and just, and honestly, I would love for him to have one more final act that looks a little bit better than this Nets and Suns era did. I just continue to be like, the Phoenix Suns got to look in the mirror, and I mean closely, for a very long time, about as long as it's going to take for them to get a first round pick back. Like, they need to be able to actually address what's going on here, because this is even with KD and the market so bad, I think it's disastrous. For Kevin Durant, I think it's awesome. I think it's good that he gets to go somewhere that he wanted to go. And I will say this about the Suns. They did honor his request and sent him to where he wanted to play, and they deserve credit for that.
Imagine the pressure, the added pressure on whoever is selected 10th overall in this draft, because now your name and your performance is going to be forever associated with the Kevin Durant trade. That's tough. That is tough. All right, coming up, we have one final act on this podcast. I want to know from Matt and Haize if this is going to have any ripple effects on the rest of this offseason. Obviously, a lot of teams were waiting to see how this deal shook out before they made their own trades. We are just a couple of days away from the draft. Will it affect that as well? That's all coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder to yourself, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center with all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. You can go beyond just like managing your money and actually start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on streaming services. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Now I budget smarter and I save more, and it's all thanks to Monarch Money. The best part is I don't have to use multiple apps. I just use Monarch to check my finances, track my spending, and plan out all of my family's long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Oh, by the way, finals, Game 7, that happens tonight. Locked On NBA game night. Well, Brian Gregory, how dare you ruin Game 7 of an NBA Finals? These don't come around every year. How dare you, sir?
David Stern is flipping a bird while rotating in his grave.
Yeah, unbelievable. So Locked On NBA Game Night will be recapping that tonight. And that's on this feed. So if you're already subscribed, you're good to go. Final thing here on this podcast, Haize, how do you feel like this trade, the return, and just it getting done is going to affect the rest of trade season, of the offseason in general?
I mean, I think it's going to affect all of it. First of all, even this draft, it disrupts the draft a little bit, because now what are the Suns going to do? Are they going to go center, which makes some sense? Are they going to disrupt that a little bit? I think now Jonathan Kuminga, the Miami Heat are going to pivot maybe to Jonathan Kuminga is what I've read. So, the teams that were looking to make deals are probably still looking to make deals. And so now they're going to be teams with assets out there. Of course, they're not going to give up as much as what they would have for Kevin Durant, but I think that this is just the first, I guess I should say second move now after the Desmond Bane one, but there's going to be a lot of reactions from teams across the league in this over the next week or so.
Keith Smith, who does a great job breaking down cap stuff. Rockets are $33.6 million under the tax, 41.6 under the first apron, 54 under the second apron, and that's without Fred VanVleet, Aaron Holiday on the books, so they'll probably need to move some of that. They've got wiggle room to add other guys here. Like, they can do more here, which I think is absolutely incredible. I think there's going to be finally you're going to start seeing movement, because everybody was kind of waiting on KD. Okay, what does Miami do? Okay, what does Minnesota do? Because Minnesota's got some big questions coming up with Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, all these types of things. Like, they are probably looking to keep being aggressive. I think you're going to look at I've reported consistently the Clippers were in on these conversations. I still think the Clippers are shopping for a big move, and I'm wondering what that's going to be. And meanwhile, I got a question. What's Devin Booker think about all this? Because I really want to know. He's in a tough spot, man, because I know he wants to be the Suns guy. He wants to have that statue outside of that arena. He wants to be a Suns guy for life. I think that's the legacy he wants to leave, but they are leaving him with very few choices. This team's still over the second apron. They got to cut guys just to be able to get out of the second apron. What in hell is happening with Phoenix? I think that's a good question to ask. It's going to be a wild summer, Doug.
It's going to be the ultimate insult to injury when Houston ends up moving Phoenix's own picks to acquire even more talent to pair around the guy that they just took from Phoenix. Really incredible stuff. We'll obviously be talking about the NBA Finals as well tomorrow, but we're also going to have sound from Locked On Suns and from Locked On Rockets reacting to this. Maybe we'll hear later in the week, maybe we'll hear from Locked On Heat and Locked On Spurs and maybe Locked On Clippers too about not getting a deal done, and see what their plans are as we get closer to the NBA draft. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, we're hopeful to get reaction from Locked On Rockets, but he's got to get his homework done first.
Why? You know what, Jackson? If you're listening to this right now, I need a solid clap back so that I can air it to Matt Moore. So if you're listening, do it. So, yeah, we're going to hear from all of those hosts all throughout the week. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. If you like what you heard, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for joining me here on a Sunday and giving us their expertise. Thank you for making us your first listen. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Big Board. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow is reacting to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy Finals Game 7 tonight. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.